Welcome to the Brewery Adventure, where we explore the vibrant world of local breweries and the incredible atmosphere they create. I'm Tim.
And I'm Courtney. If you've ever wondered what makes a brewery more than just a place to grab a drink, you're in for a treat.
In each episode, we'll cover the places making beer, from the cozy corners of neighborhood tap rooms to the bustling energy of larger brew houses.
We are not just talking about the beer. We are celebrating the ambiance, the culture, and the community that make each brewery a unique destination.
So whether you're a regular at your local brew pub or just curious about what's out there, join us as we uncover the magic behind the taps.
Let's embark on the brewery adventure together.
Cheers! Yes.
Nailed it.
Yeah, we nailed it again. We're getting better and better every time.
We are. We really are.
I think so. I think so. And it doesn't matter if we're not.
Exactly.
We're still having fun. We're still having fun. Well, welcome to the Brewery Adventure. We are here to talk about yet another brewery here in the Twin Cities metro area of Minnesota. Tonight, we will be talking about Surly Brewing.
This is a big one.
It is a big one, both because it's important to the history of brewing here in Minneapolis area, and also just because it is big.
It is big.
It is big. It is one of the biggest in the state, and it's a cool place to visit. So look forward to talking about it. Courtney, how are you today?
I am doing pretty good. How are you?
Doing well, doing well. I've had a lot of time to spend with my grandson in the last couple of days.
Oh.
We went over to his house and visited there, and then he came over to my house yesterday, and we played outside in the kind of the muddy, snowy backyard, you know?
Yeah.
Because,
stuff.
It's kind of getting to spring around here, but not quite,
Not quite. I got out my spring jacket, so we're done with winter. It can't come back.
We are in that in-between time, no doubt. No doubt. And I look forward to when we're not in that in-between time, when we can be outside on patios at breweries.
I think you snuck out to a brewery patio over the weekend.
I did. Some friends invited my wife and I out to Venn Brewing, which is in Minneapolis near Minnehaha Park, right on the light rail line. So it's got a lot going on there. And it was very, very busy. And we ended up sitting outside, even though it was a little chilly.
I thought it was just like intentional. Like, it's really great outside, so that's where we're going to be.
We've had a couple of those days here recently where you could have sat outside very comfortably. But that day was a little chilly, and we sat outside. So we only had the one beer, and then we moved on to another restaurant for dinner. But it was a nice visit. It was very busy, so I didn't really get a chance to really scope out the brewery all that much. So we're going to have to make a visit or two to Venn Brewing.
We're going to have to go there.
Yeah, absolutely. We will do that. It will be on the list in the future. Well, let's talk about Surly, since that's what we're here for.
We can't talk about Surly until we open a Surly.
Oh, that is right. You're so smart. You just didn't want to forget that part of it.
I just have the beer here taunting me, waiting to be opened.
Okay, so tell me which beer you have provided yourself tonight.
Well, I may be prepared with two beers.
Okay.
So I have a Mosh Pit Hazy IPA and my favorite Furious.
Furious is one of Surly's most well-known beers. And they're both, I've had both of those, and they're both good.
That's what I'm hoping for.
I have something that I went to the store, and I thought I was going to buy either Furious or Hell, which is their regular lager. And I ended up finding I think something they're making for the wintertime. It's called Winter Lager, so I assume for the wintertime. It's called Winterize. So
I've not had that.
I'm excited to try it. You want to pop yours first, since you're so excited to have your beer?
Yes, let me make some adjustments here, get it up by the microphone.
Yeah. Oh, wonderful.
Oh, yeah.
Bring it on.
And I was prepared tonight.
Yep.
I'm super prepared. I have a glass. I'm fancy.
All right, let's hear it. Love it.
That's my beer.
All right, here's the Winterize. We'll pop that too. Oh, yeah. Smells good.
I don't remember seeing that one on the menu.
It's got a nice, not a dark color, but a nice golden color to it.
It's
kind of
very
a dark
pretty.
Golden color. Smells delicious.
I did not give myself a good pour.
Okay. If anyone out there is wondering, we do drink a beer while we're talking about the brewery that that is the focus of that episode, and so that's why we have beers from Surly. We always drink a beer from the brewery that we're talking about, and we welcome any of you that are listening to the podcast to also drink a beer while you're listening to the podcast, as long as you're doing it in a safe place.
Yes. If you're commuting right now,
Yeah, if you're commuting,
beer,
probably not good. If you're on the treadmill at Lifetime Fitness, probably also not a good time, but you can get one afterwards.
Exactly.
Wonderful. Okay, we have our beers open. Wonderful tasting. This winter lager is really good.
I'm now prepared. I'm ready.
Very tasty. Okay. Which one did you pour?
I ended up pouring the Mosh Pit Hazy.
The Mosh Pit Hazy. That is one of the ones I had when we visited the brewery the other day.
It was. Furious is normally what I get if I just need to run into the liquor store and grab some beer. I'm grabbing Furious.
It's one of the things I'll talk about here. I don't generally buy Surly beer in the store, and it's not that I don't like their beer. Every time I go to the brewery, I enjoy it. Excuse me, I am burping because of the beer. So I don't buy a lot of Surly like in can form. If I do, I buy the light lager. It's a nice light lager to have in the house. I like that. I'll drink a Furious when I go to the brewery, but not necessarily buy it. But I know you like to actually have it on hand.
I do.
Yeah.
I do.
What do you think of the Mosh Pit Hazy?
It's delicious. I don't know that it's going to replace Furious for me, but it's delicious.
Here's what I wrote on Untapped when we were at the brewery the other day, and I had Mosh Pit Hazy. Nice, but not too hoppy. And then I said, not as pineapple-y as I thought it might be. Because I think they described it as being pineapple, and I didn't get as much of it as I wanted.
I don't know if I'm tasting pineapple.
Yeah.
But it doesn't have the same kind of bite that Furious does.
I also put down that it's a good drinker.
Good drinker.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah. Nothing wrong with it. Nothing wrong with that.
Yep,
nothing wrong with it. Okay, let's talk a little bit about Surly. So we both have a little bit of history at Surly. You more so than me. You've probably been there a lot more times than me because you've been there for some outdoor events and things.
I've been there for a lot of things. And I remember, did you ever go to their original location?
I never did. Heard about it from friends, but never made my way there.
So Surly originally, I had to go look up some of their history, but I do remember going to their original facility that was in Brooklyn Center, Brooklyn Park.
I think Brooklyn Center.
It was up a little bit north. It was in an abrasives factory that they converted part of it into this little craft brewery, but it was very small. I remember going there with my friend Kyle. We had a great time, got a t-shirt.
Nice.
I think we were intending to do a tour or something, but that didn't work out. So we just drank some beer.
And when did they open that? Do we know when they opened that one?
That I had a couple conflicting dates. I saw one that was December 30th of 2005. And then I think on Surly's website, they just listed it as 2006.
So this is really early in the brewery development of the Twin Cities.
Yeah.
Really early.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was a cool place to go then when it was just this tiny little space. And then all of a sudden.
Yeah, I had heard good things about it. I just never made my way there.
It's all good.
Yeah, so Surly is important to the brewing history of Minneapolis because for a long time we didn't really have a lot of breweries here because they weren't allowed to sell their beer on site, either to drink right there or to pick up and go. They couldn't do either one of those things. So we just didn't have a big brewery culture. We had a couple of breweries that were making beer to be put out into distribution and sold in liquor stores and things like that. But we didn't have tap rooms. We didn't have a lot of other breweries popping up because they weren't allowed to sell on site, which of course is a way to make some quick money when you open a brewery.
Yes.
It's kind of build a knowledge base of the people who are going to be drinking it. And so they can know what your beer is. and that just wasn't a thing that we had. But Surly was instrumental in making the change in the laws here in the state of Minnesota that allowed for breweries to do those things, to sell beer on site so you can have a beer while you're there. And then also later on, we got more laws changed so that they can, when they're canning their beer, they can actually sell it to you on site. You can actually buy some at the brewery and take it home with you rather than having to go through a liquor store. Otherwise, Minnesota has a 3-tiered system that is producers, distributors, and sellers. And you can't be all of those parts. You have to just be involved in one of those parts. But Surly was very instrumental in getting those laws changed.
And I'm so glad they did.
Yeah.
It changed a lot of things.
Otherwise, we wouldn't have all the breweries we have now, and we have so many. And we wouldn't have this podcast either.
Exactly. None of this would be
or
here.
we'd be talking about, I don't know, fast food restaurants or something. I don't know.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I don't know about that.
Much more boring topics.
You might have a different co-host for that one.
Yeah. What? Okay. What did you want to say about Surly, Courtney? What your recent experiences at Surly compared to other breweries? What do you think?
Well, recent experiences are going to be maybe a little slim at Surly. I used to go to Surly all the time.
Okay.
They opened up this beautiful facility in Minneapolis. They've got all kinds of outdoor space. The building itself is enormous. They used to have it's 2 stories. They used to have a fancy restaurant that was up on the 2nd floor that unfortunately I never went to. That space is now a pizza parlor.
Yeah.
And they have event space up there.
Right. There's a separate event space that can be rented out. And then the pizza thing, which we experienced last time we were there. Yeah, their outdoor space is wonderful. And it's in an old and kind of an old industrial area of Minneapolis near the University of Minnesota. But the building itself is brand new. They didn't rehab a building. They built that building. But it still kind of fits into the older buildings around it. There's some old grain silos next door. And their outdoor space is wonderful. So large and
it's cool. A great place when it's nice weather outside. It's super fun to just hang out outside there. They've got bags going on. Kids are running around. They have all kinds of little fire pits and stuff that you can sit by if it does get a little bit chilly.
Yeah, it's a really cool place when you can be outside. For me, I love it. I love Surly in the summertime. It's a cool place to go. It can be really busy.
It can be really busy.
It can be really busy. But it is a cool place to go in the summer. I find it less so in the winter because it's not the kind of brewery experience that I really look for. The smaller breweries tend to be more relaxed. You walk in, you either order a beer up at the bar, or some of them will come to you and get your beer order. But you basically just sit where you want, and people just kind of mill around and that kind of thing. Where at Surly, because they have a restaurant, on their main level, you have to talk to the hostess and they have to seat you at a table and all that. And then if you go up to the pizza place, same thing. It's a little more relaxed in the pizza place where you can kind of pick where you want to sit in general. But it's still, I don't know, because of the restaurant situation, it's still just a little more organized in that way. It's not as free flowing and relaxed, the kind of thing that I like in a brewery.
You have some formalities you have to go through.
It is true. And then they will check you at the door too for IDs and stamp your hand.
We got carded and we got really cool stamps that didn't come off for a couple days.
It's not because they thought we looked really young. It's because I think they do it to everybody.
We can say it's because we looked young, Tim.
Yeah, well, it's probably because it was with you and you looked young. Okay, so yeah. So that's what I like about Surly, their outdoor space. What I don't like is it's kind of, I don't know, it's more corporate, it's more modern, it's more restaurant-y.
Yes. Yeah.
I mean, that's a word.
Yeah, it is restaurant-y. They have their own food on both levels. They've got the pizza parlor upstairs and then a regular menu of really great food downstairs.
Yeah, so you were saying that you used to go to Surly a lot, and you've been there for some big events too, like concerts and things like that.
Yeah, I did get to go to one of the concerts that was outside, and that was phenomenal. They had a great space for it. It was super, super fun. And I was thinking when we were planning this, gosh, I haven't been to Surly in a long time.
Right.
And I was thinking it's because there's all these other places, there's all these other options to go and explore, and I pick something new instead of going back to Surly, which I had been to a million times.
Sure.
I don't think that's the reason I hadn't gone back to Surly.
Okay. You were telling me about this. So this is a little insight into Courtney.
A little insight into Courtney.
Yeah.
I had a bad breakup at Surly.
Oh, I know.
I had a bad breakup at Surly. Someone I had been to Surly with many, many times.
Right.
Decided that would be a great location to sit at the bar right in front of the tap and end a relationship.
Ugh. I can see why you didn't go back for a while.
So I didn't go back in a while. And it's been years, like years and years. But it even just felt weird going back there when we were there just a little while ago.
Yeah. Well,
it comes back.
I'm glad that I could help you reintroduce yourself to Surly and kind of build new positive memories.
Yes.
There. We'll have to go back. We'll definitely go back when the weather warms up and we'll enjoy some beer outside.
Well, we have a mission now to make better memories at Surly.
Make better memories at Surly.
Because Surly, the problem was me. It wasn't you. I'm sorry. I haven't been there.
It's me. It's not you.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that. I can understand why you weren't there for a while. And like you said, there are a lot of brewery choices in the Twin Cities. So
there's other places to go where I don't have that memory when I walk in the door.
It's not like you were hurting. Well, I have some. I've only been to Surly. I'm going to say maybe 6 or 7 times overall. All of them were in nicer weather, except for the last 2 times. We went this winter, and we sat inside because it was winter outside. And then I was also there this Valentine's Day with my wife. I happened to see online, if you're involved in something like we're doing here with the Brewery Podcast, you tend to Google a lot of brewery things, and the whole internet knows that I'm interested in beer things.
You just get inundated with beer events happening.
Like any beer thing that's going on. And I happened to see one for Surly for Valentine's Day. And my wife also enjoys a beer. So we made our way there on Valentine's Day, and we had a reservation up in the pizza area. You could sit downstairs or upstairs, and we chose the pizza area. And we had pizza. We had an appetizer there as well. It was a meatball appetizer. It was delicious. They did a really good. They also cooked the meatball appetizer in that big brick oven thing where they cooked the pizzas, and it was very good. We also I had arranged for a bottle service for a 2018 bottle of Surly Darkness, which is their Imperial Russian Stout.
Yeah.
And so this bottle was bottled in 2018. It's been sitting. They've stored it.
Just saying bottle service sounds so fancy.
I know it, didn't it? It sounds it did sound fancy, and I had to pay $20 for that bottle. But it was so cool because the young guy who came to help us when we sat down, he's like, "You also ordered the bottle service, sir?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And he said, "Would you like the Surly Darkness?" And I think he offered me one other one too. There was a Darkness and then one of their other beers that they'd also stored old bottles of.
You just stopped listening after Darkness.
I know. I knew I wanted the Darkness. So I said, we'll take the Darkness. And he went over and got a bottle, and he was so happy to like hold it out like a sommelier would hold out a bottle of wine and describe it to you. And he was describing everything about Darkness and the history of the Surly Darkness, which, you were, I think, going to talk a little bit about how they do a Darkness Day every year. And how they had set these bottles aside every year. They set some aside so they can do this kind of thing. And he was so funny because he's like, "Well, we keep them in a cooler. They're kept cold, but I know that they should be served. They should be served just a little bit warmer. So on nights like this, I bring them out and let them start warming up a little bit as I'm serving them." And he was just so happy to be able to share all of the stuff about the beer, and he was just really just very informative and very happy to be doing it.
Yeah,
you could tell that he loves beer and loves working at Surly. So it was a fun night. It was a nice, relaxing night. None of that crazy Valentine pressure, I got married in 1991, so we don't have a lot of Valentine pressure. We don't even normally go out on Valentine's Day, but this was a cool thing that I saw, and I'm glad we went.
It looked like they had a good deal for it.
It was a good deal too. Yeah. So a lot of things I like about Surly. Their food is really good.
So good.
Yeah, I've not had any food there that's been bad. The pizzas are great. The food they have downstairs, they have a wide variety of things in their menu, from salads to burgers and everything else, and it's all very good.
You
And
can't go wrong.
I don't have any problems with any of their beer. I've had some IPAs in there from the Furious and the Mosh Pit Hazy. And what else did I try? I tried something called Death Western this last time, which I think was a collaboration with another brewery. It was a nice dark malty beer that had a really deep flavor, and it was very tasty. So I think they make a good variety of beers. When you go to the brewery, you'll see a long list, and there's a good variety of beers to have there.
Yes.
So
and even though they have a long list
positive.
and a lot of variety,
yeah,
I couldn't make my own flight.
Yeah. Yeah.
They did have a couple different like pre-made flights to pick from. Yeah. I remember one they wouldn't let me order because one of the beers was out and they weren't just going to replace it with something else. So this was a flightless event for me.
A flightless event.
Yeah.
That's okay. That could be okay sometimes.
It was okay. I did have, I had a Full Metal Bake Sale, which was a pastry stout.
Oh, yeah.
And then I had their Black Hops Dark Ale, and both of them were delicious.
Yeah. And when we arrived, we saw the hostess and we sat downstairs first. And we had a beer and a big pretzel.
With spicy mustard.
The great spicy mustard was very delicious. And also, what was the other thing that came with it? It was pimento cheese?
Pimento cheese, yeah.
Yes. And yes, all of that was wonderful. So we sat downstairs and enjoyed those. And the server kept wanting us to order more, but we knew we were going to go upstairs afterwards because we wanted to go upstairs and enjoy the pizza area as well, where they have another bar to sit at up there, pinball machines.
Yeah.
It kind of there's a deck out there that overlooks the backyard area, which of course, again, we were there in the winter, no one's using. But all of that was just good fun. We had a good time sitting. All the people we talked to at Surly were cool too, the servers and whatnot. Yeah. So no issues.
There is, very curiously, in that pizza area.
Yeah.
We were facing it. There's a big Surly sign, like the Surly letters on the wall. But they're backwards.
Yeah, lit up in red. And it's Surly backwards. And it even goes like there's part of the wall that like covers part of it. It's like they had it and then they like covered part of it. It's kind of weird. And we did ask the beer tender, what is the deal? Why is it backwards? It's a big sign.
Yes.
Big individual glowing red letters. And it's like, why is it backwards? And the only response was, I was told it matches the sign on the outside of the building. So if you go, and we did look when we walked out the door, if you look up to that spot, it does say Surly on the side of the building there.
But it's not the same sign. I mean, there's a wall in between all of that.
Yeah, it doesn't go through the wall. The one on the outside of the wall is literally just printed on the wall, I think, or it's painted on the wall. Anyway, it was an interesting side note to that. But pinball machines up there, kind of a relaxed. The pizza place, more relaxed, even more relaxing than downstairs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think we need to start doing some of these pinball machines.
Yeah. Yeah, we're both horrible at it, so we might want to bring some bucks.
Yeah, we can bring some bucks, but we could be pinball wizards.
You never know. It could happen.
Absolutely.
It could happen.
Just a little practice, Tim. Just a little practice.
Yeah. So we talked a little bit about how Surly has been instrumental in the brewing business in Minneapolis. They were a huge pushers when they wanted to build this place that they have now, of getting the laws changed so that they could do it. But them doing it allowed a whole bunch of other breweries to open before Surly even opened.
Yes.
Which was really interesting, that they really pushed to get these laws changed, and had a lot of legislators on their side to try to get it changed, obviously. And people were for it, which is why it got passed. But even before Surly could build them this big place, because they were building a huge place, lots of other little breweries opened in the Twin Cities.
They helped a lot of people.
They really did. And they helped all of us, because now we all have a bunch of breweries to look at and go to. Darkness Day, we mentioned it.
So I have not been to Darkness Day. I really think this year we need to, I don't know if they've announced a date for it. It happens in October.
Okay.
You haven't been to it either, have
I
you?
haven't been to Darkness Day either.
So
The
we should
darkness,
mark off our calendar for
yeah,
this.
well, I think we should. We should. We're doing a brewery podcast now, so I think we should. Um, the Surly Darkness, if anyone doesn't know what kind of beer that is, it's a Russian Imperial Stout. And the alcohol content of it fluctuates a little bit, but it's always in the double digits. It's somewhere up around 11, 12, 13% alcohol. I think the one I had the other day when I was there was 12.4 or something like that. It's something that you're drinking when you're drinking it. It's heavy.
But good.
It's delicious, but you got to take it easy on it. Take it easy. It's a good thing. I mean, my wife and I split the bottle, and that's all I needed of it. So
Darkness Day, they'll have a huge celebration for their release of Darkness, and there's music, and there's like just a big party.
Yeah, and the bottles are things that people collect because of the artwork on them. Quite often the artwork, I don't know if it's every time, but quite often the artwork is done by Adam Turman, who's a huge artist here in the Twin Cities. Does a lot of very cool art that I really love. I have a lot of his art actually at home in my house, and he does the bottle designs, and it's just all.
Well, and he had a big mural inside.
Yeah, there's a big
Surly
mural
too.
inside. Yep. Yeah, it's very cool. It's very cool. They do so many big things at Surly. I mean, that's what they are. They're big, and so they do a lot of big things.
Yeah, including Surly Gives a Damn. They've got a whole volunteer charity kind of thing where they partner with different organizations in the area and do things from food drives to blood banks, housing families, cleaning up neighborhoods. They do a bunch of volunteerism through their charity organization.
That's cool.
Makes you feel good.
Sure. Absolutely. Interesting note. You looked this up early. We were wondering why Surly is called Surly because Surly, that means like, you're just feeling it, right? And there's also another company here called Surly Bikes, which they're not related. The two are not related in the least. Well, Surly says that they're called Surly due to their inability to find a good beer in town. So
I like it.
Yeah, it's a good reason, right?
An excellent reason.
Yeah, and then they created Furious, which we talked about earlier, and then obviously the rest is history with lots of their other beers that they had, some of which we've talked about. So we, on our recent visit to Surly, we were the first time we'd been there together.
Yes.
And you had been there many times, and I'd been there a few times, but you didn't know about the place that was right down the street from Surly.
You have told me about this place, and I think a few other people have mentioned it, but I have never been there, or like that's all I know about it.
So like I said before, Surly is kind of in an old industrial area of Minneapolis, which has completely turned over. By the way, most of the old warehouses are gone, and these huge apartment buildings have been built. But just a block away from Surly is a place called the Market at Malcolm Yards, and it's called Malcolm Yards. I think that's what the railroad yards were called. They're kind of still, if you go back behind Surly, there's still railroad yards back there. And it's a really cool place. It's in this old building that at one point, not that long ago, had a completely collapsed roof and was just falling down. It looked like ruins. And somebody decided to put some money into it, fix it up. But they left it very old and industrial looking. So like the graffiti that was on the walls is still there. Lots of old wood, old beams, old brick. It's a very cool looking place, but it's kind of a long, thin building that's got a lot of little restaurant booths in it. So each restaurant has like a little space. And so there's lots of different choices in there. You can get Asian food, you can get burgers, pizza. I mean, it kind of changes. There's a little bit of a rotation to it as well. But the main thing that we went over there for, because I told Courtney, is that they also have a tap wall.
Who doesn't love a tap wall?
When you go in, you get a card. You give them your credit card information. You get a card that you can use to operate the taps, and so you can fill up whatever beer you want and however much of it you want. If you just want a little taste, you can do that. If you want a whole pint, you can do that. So we tried. I only had one that night, but it was really delicious. But it's a cool place. Did you agree?
I loved it. And we just had beer at Surly. So because you can pour your own, I was just going to have like a half of a glass of something. And I went with the Dangerous Man peanut butter porter because that's one of my absolute favorites and I haven't had it in forever.
Right.
So I poured my half a glass and some very nice Malcolm Yards employee was there. Oh, did you need me to top that off for you? Here, I'll just take care of it. So he took my half a glass, went back and like made it full. Like I had somehow not been able to do that.
Right.
I was like, oh.
He thought you were trying to pour a full one, but maybe didn't know how to do it.
Yes.
And only ended up with half a glass with a lot of foam or whatever.
Yeah.
But he paid for the other half the glass then because he used his card to do it. So you didn't.
He absolutely did.
Yeah. That was a
and
nice
I drank it because you can't let that go to waste. But I had not been intending on having a full beer over there.
Yeah, and again, like you, we had already had a couple of beers over at Surly, and so didn't want to have another full pint. I was the driver, didn't want to have another full glass. So I just poured like a half a glass of a lighter sour that was on there called Tiny S's.
Oh.
It's from Prairie Artisan Ales. I don't even know where they're located. I don't remember looking that up.
I thought they were Oklahoma.
Oh, maybe. Prairie Artisan Ales. And it was a sour. Here's what I wrote about it on Untapped. Just a small pour from the self-serve taps. This is wonderful, tart and sweet at the same time. It was kind of like drinking a sweet tart. It was
that drink was like candy.
It was like candy,
really good candy.
Yeah, and I'm glad I tried it, and I'm definitely going to look for it again in the future.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people who maybe don't like a lot of, if you're not a beer drinker, I think would like that one because it's not you don't drink. I think if someone was given that drink without being told it's a beer, they wouldn't call it a beer.
It did not have a beer flavor.
Yeah. Very
good. It just had candy fruit flavor.
But if you're ever going to Surly, this place is just another block away, and it's a very cool place to visit. If you want to get some other different food choices, you could go over there, and you got obviously a lot of beer choices because you can choose whatever you want from the whole wall, and have a nice time over there. It's a cool place.
I want to go back when we're not full of pizza from Surly, and try some of the food over there.
They do have some outdoor space over there as well. They have a patio on, I think, both sides of the building. I think there's a little bit of patio on both sides. But it's a cool place, cool industrial area of Minneapolis, and there's still a lot of old grain elevators around, so it's got a cool look to it. And a cool place to visit. If you're going to Surly, also give Malcolm Yards a try.
Why not do both?
Why not? Why not? Well, one more thing. We got to go back to Surly for a moment.
Okay.
Because we forgot to do the bathroom review, and I don't want to.
Oh gosh.
I don't want to leave that. I don't want to leave an episode without a bathroom review.
We can't do it.
So one negative about the bathrooms at Surly is we were upstairs in the pizza restaurant, and I asked someone like, "Where's the bathroom?" And they said, "You got to go downstairs." So I don't know why they don't have another bathroom for the pizza restaurant upstairs, but they don't. So you got to go back downstairs or back down the elevator. There is an elevator.
They're going to make you work off some of those pizza calories by going up and down the stairs.
I guess so. Well, their bathrooms are nice, though. They're big because it's a big place. Surly is, like we said, a big place. So they have large bathrooms. As I remember, there are no doors. It's one of those ones where you just kind of walk through a little curved entryway to the bathroom, so they don't need to have a door. And clean, wonderful. Didn't have to touch anything, so I have no complaints. No complaints about the Surly bathrooms whatsoever.
What are we rating this bathroom on the Tim bathroom scale?
I think we're still doing a 1 to 10 scale on bathrooms, and I would give the Surly bathrooms. I'm going to give them a 9, and the only reason I give them a 9 is because I had to walk downstairs. It wasn't on the level of the building I was on.
That's fair.
Yeah,
so absolutely fair.
It's the only negative. And they're right inside kind of the main entrance when you come in, right on the right-hand side if you're coming in, so you'll see them there. Okay, cool. Well, I think we've had a lot of positive things to say about Surly, hardly any negatives at all. Other than, for me, like I said, it is not the kind of cozy brewery that I usually like to hang out in. Going to Surly is an event. It's kind of like a bigger event style kind of place. At least that's what it feels like to me. It's not the kind of place where I want to go and have a cozy experience and just enjoy a beer.
Like if you have people coming in from out of town and you want to take them someplace that is kind of cool that they're going to remember, you go to Surly.
I think so. Yes. I would definitely bring people there. Nothing but positive experiences there. But for me, I do like a smaller, cozy brewery as well. So there you go.
Yeah.
That's my opinion.
Well, my negative is obviously don't take someone to Surly and break up with them.
Don't take someone anywhere and break up with them. Okay.
Don't take someone to like their favorite place and break up with them.
Don't ruin great places by taking someone there and breaking up with them.
Exactly. That's yes.
Yeah,
Yep.
Absolutely. Yep. Just break up with them out on the street or something. I don't know.
Out in the street would be better.
Yeah, I don't know. Whatever. Pick a spot you already don't like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would be ideal.
Yeah. Anyway, so that was Surly. Any final thoughts you want to have for Surly?
I'm committing myself to spending more time at Surly.
Okay.
I miss it.
Definitely when the better weather comes back, we will revisit again.
Yes.
Yeah, so we can sit
And
outside.
I will challenge you to bags outside.
Oh, awesome. That
you can
sounds
pick a
like
partner.
fun.
I'll pick a partner. Game on.
Yep. So once again, we're coming to the end of another episode of the Brewery Adventure, and I don't think we've decided what brewery we're going to do next.
We haven't. We're open to suggestions.
This is becoming our way of doing business, is that we don't plan that far ahead. So yes, we are open to suggestions. You can contact us through our email addresses, which is tim@thebreweryadventure.com or courtney@thebreweryadventure.com. We also have, of course, just visiting our website, thebreweryadventure.com. And you can find a contact form there where you can give us your suggestions about which brewery we should visit, what you do and don't like about bathrooms, what beers you like and don't like, what styles you like. We'd just like to hear any of that information from you. We'd be glad to have it.
To be fair, we have a short list. It's not like we're just like, oh gosh, where are we going to go? We
do
a short
have
list.
We do have a list. We should really just make a decision before we do a recording. We should make a decision on the next one. What do you think?
It's more fun to not know. We'll leave everyone in suspense.
Yeah, leave everyone in suspense. I love it. I love it. Well, thanks for coming along on this brewery adventure with Courtney and I, and we'll see you next time when we'll be visiting another brewery in the Twin Cities metro area. Until then, cheers.
Cheers.